the core focus early on is reason development. Why are they there? Why are they learning this? And how will it impact their life? And I think with personal finance, we have a huge advantage when it comes to this subject because it impacts almost every area of their lives.
Welcome to the Teacher RockStar podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to providing valuable insights, practical tips, and proven strategies to equip new teachers for success. I'm your host, Steve Hiles, educator, published author, and instructional coach. Join me in each episode as we offer a supportive platform for navigating the challenges of the teaching profession. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing effective educational methods for financial literacy with our guest, Vince Shorb. But before we get into today's topic, I'd like to take a moment to share a little bit about today's special guest. Vince Shorb is one of the country's leading advocates for promoting financial literacy and a thought leader in teaching and scaling financial education programming. After spending 15 years in financial services working one-on-one with more than 20,000 people, he founded the National Financial Educators Council, or NFEC, an organization dedicated to combating the financial illiteracy epidemic. Shorb has led the NFEC in the development of 2,500 financial literacy programs and more than 80 financial literacy assets. He has been featured in publications on USA Today, CNBC, Yahoo Finance, Forbes, CNN Money, MarketWatch, Fox Business, Huffington Post, NASDAQ, and Business Insider. Welcome to the Teacher RockStar podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hiles. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing effective educational methods for financial literacy with our guest, Vince Shorb. Vince currently serves as the CEO at National Financial Educators Council. Welcome to the show, Vince. Glad to have you on board.
Yeah, Steve, good to be here.
All right. Would you like to take a moment to share your journey in financial literacy with our audience?
For sure. Yeah, I think in many ways, a lot of people relate with my journey, others won't. But I had similar experiences with the people struggling after high school and into college. I had early success, started investing early, bought a piece of real estate in my teenage years. I made some simple, dumb mistakes in my college years, college debt, taking too much money out on credit cards. I didn't use it for purchases. I made investments and very risky investments in that. And so I went through the challenges, 5 years, really digging myself out. And that was a valuable learning experience looking back on that. And also during that time, I really wanted to be committed toward helping others avoid the challenges that I went through. And that was when my focus started to shift toward getting into financial services. I was in the variety of different spaces there. My last 7 years were in the mortgage industry. And I saw people that, I just couldn't help. I would help them out one time, pay off their debt, lower their payments, save them a few $1,000s a month. And then 5, 6, 8 months later, they'd be back saying, hey, I need more money. I need this. And it was sad, right? It's a revolving. And after years of that, I just got frustrated. And because in my heart, I really wanted to help people. And I talked to my mom. I took a trip up to Montana saying, I need to do something. I want to get out of this industry. And she said, in school, you were always frustrated they did not teach you about money. I was always in the back reading my dad's investing books instead. And she said, what about something like that? And it struck a chord. In 2006, I founded the NFEC. Initially, we were boots on the ground, delivering financial education programming, delivering the training all throughout the country. That went on for about 4 years. I did thousands of programs and really enjoyed that process. Then I needed to scale. And so we need to start training educators and those passionate advocates and communities across the country. And that's where we're at today.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Thank you for sharing that, Vince. I have to ask you, what are the key components of a successful financial literacy program?
Yeah, I think I want to showcase what are not the successful components of a program, because sadly, this is more common. I think a lot of people in financial education, they come from financial service. So we have all the big players across all the financial service sectors, advisors, credit unions, banks, realtors, etc. in here and in developing material and so forth. We also see a lot of government organizations developing material. Every type of financial organization, government organization has curriculum. And sadly, it's mainly PowerPoint people to death. PowerPoint, teacher, lecture, and that's it. Maybe an activity and some quizzes. That's the what's really going on out there in the space. I would say to the tune of 90+%, which is sad. What we see successful in financial education is really copying what's successful in the classroom, utilizing research-based education methodologies to engage students more, to focus on real outcomes and really help them progress toward making more and more qualified financial decisions. So that incorporates a few different things. So some of the things that I like to do, and everybody has their own teaching style, but some of the things I like to incorporate in my classes, always, especially with high school and above, we could talk about elementary school later if you like. But with high school and above, I think the core focus early on is reason development. Why are they there? Why are they learning this? And how will it impact their life? And I think with personal finance, we have a huge advantage when it comes to this subject because it impacts almost every area of their lives. I also like to include some reflective activities so they understand what they already know about a topic, what they want to know, and developing, again, the reasons they want to learn. So that topic, and we adapted that from a teaching principle, KWL, what you know, what you want to know, and
That's right. What do you want to learn? Yeah. What you
change
learn.
the R at the end to what are the reasons you want to learn this. So just a little, because money's so behavioral and so emotional rather than other subjects.
All right.
I like to include some type of case method approach in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So having some basic case studies where students can go through and presenting them some basic situations, common situations, and putting them in the role of the advice giver, right? And early on, this helps to build confidence, and this helps to put them in a role of giving advice. Everybody loves to give financial advice. Nobody loves to take advice.
That's right.
I also like to include items when it comes to previewing, allowing them to preview what's coming up. I especially like using highly visual infographics. And if we're teaching, let's say credit, for example, in 5 to 8 good infographics, I can give them a good idea of what credit's about, and it demystifies the topic. So it's not so, I need 800, what's this thing? It helps them see the big picture. Always some lecture, always some skill building, some real world activities, project-based learning as well. But I like the real world activities because with personal finance, if we're talking high school and above, we can have them do their budget. We can have them do those things that they research banks that they may want to open up an account with. So, again, that's my mix. I vary that just based off socioeconomic status and other factors and where they're at in their life stage. But at least for high school students, that's my mix that I enjoy.
All right, great. Now, this kind of leads me to ask you, you talk about, excuse me, real world, activities. Well, I'm thinking, what role do real life simulations and role playing exercises play in teaching financial literacy?
Yeah, I think a very critical role, especially when it comes to high school students and above, because there's life stages that we need to prepare them for that are perfect for this. And it's also motivational. Now, I could put on a class that's a financial responsibility class, teaching them about budget, credit, and savings. Every student that sees that flyer will be like, oh, it's boring, right? Or I could put on a class that is teaching high school sophomores how to buy a car or how to, get a transportation, or how to move out on their own, right? Now it's motivational. How to move out on your own, gain independence, not have parents' rules, do your own thing, bring your partner over, whatever the case may be, have parties, whatever they want to do. But there's some motivation behind that. And I'm still going to be teaching them budgeting, savings, credit, and so forth. But it's under an umbrella that kind of masks the responsibility aspect. So, and the beauty is they're just using that example. And that's one of my favorite project-based learning pieces, and it's reality-based as well. So we have them research jobs that they can get the near-term, research what that would pay them and what their monthly income would look like. We have them research rent in the local area where they want to live. Maybe they're going to college and research there. If they're staying in the area, what's the rent? Do they need roommates? Talking to other people in the classroom, creating rental rules for that, for that, researching every line item on the budget from cell phone costs, cable costs, gas, electric, and filling out their budget in a real setting. The number one thing I hear back from students doing that is, this is, we have to pay all this. My parents are paying this currently. It's like, it's an eye opener for them. But secondly, it helps them practice in a safe, secure environment. When I moved out the first time at 17, I moved out and we had two roommates and we were all excited. We didn't realize that we had to put a deposit down for the gas, electric to get that turned on. So we're all hustling on the weekend. I was a waiter at the time trying to make extra tips. Hey, can I take your shift? I needed money to turn. So it gives them the practice that they'll need. Otherwise, they kind of move out on their own and they're learning via the school of hard knocks. And one credit mistake can cost you many, many years to recover from. Getting into debt can cost you many, many years to getting into the wrong college where you're paying too much for your a diploma that you get at a quarter of the price is a problem as well. So what we're trying to do is help them go through these practices, whether it be college planning, moving down your own, what to do when all the credit card offers flood your account, how to set up your bank accounts and all this could be done in those cooler type themes. So project-based learning, I think, is always the capstone of pretty much every class that we like to do if there's enough time.
Yes, I think that's just outstanding there. Yeah, I love project-based learning type of activities. Just really get them involved. Vince, let me ask you, how can educators assess the effectiveness of financial literacy programs?
Yeah, great question. And I think this is a big problem with, if I reviewed all state mandates across the country, about half the states require financial literacy. Those that do, the mandates are well under par of meeting minimum education standards. Most don't require any type of measurements. Those that do, it's just a post test, right? And it's like content knowledge is one thing, right? And with other subjects are different, but personal finance is unique because I don't care if somebody knows how to budget. I don't care if somebody knows, what a good credit score is. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is it's helpful if they do, but that's not the best indicator of somebody's outcome. So I can have people that pass the post test, but they haven't modified their behaviors. They're not confident. They're making decisions not in line with their goals. They don't have the system set up. And so what I like to measure, which is a better indicator of future financial wellness, is content knowledge one, right? We want to make sure that they know the subject matter to a certain degree, but also, what are their behaviors? Since the class, have they modified any behaviors to help them work toward that? Have they changed anything that's leading them to a better financial position? Are they more confident? Hey, if they're put in this situation where they're in $1,000 credit card debt, are they confident enough to get themselves out? And would they have a strategy? Do they have the systems in place, from the bank account to automated bill pay in place, and even calendar items on when to check their credit? Do they have that in place? Do they have maybe a team member, maybe a mentor, maybe a podcaster or an author that they want to read and learn under? And I think the holy grail of personal finance outcomes is actual outcomes, right?
Yeah.
How are they doing financially 10 years after the class, and can they attribute a part of their financial wellness to that classroom? I think that's the holy grail of that. Yeah.
Are you a teacher who finds yourself drowning in the challenges of classroom management? Do student behaviors leave you feeling overwhelmed and drained at the end of each day? Picture this: a classroom where your students are not just present, but fully engaged, focused, and eager to learn. Say goodbye to classroom management stress and hello to success. The Teacher RockStar Academy course is meticulously designed to equip you with the tools and strategies needed to skyrocket your effectiveness as a teacher. Curious to know if the Teacher RockStar Academy course is the missing piece in your teaching journey? If you're ready to reclaim control of your classroom and witness the incredible impact on your students, then use the link in the podcast description to learn more about this program. Okay, all right. Wow, a lot to it, isn't it? What are some effective strategies for teaching financial concepts to young kids, like elementary? What do you have? I'm sure you have programs in place for that, right? So
Definitely,
yeah.
I think Really with elementary school, I think the key is getting parental involvement. Financial behaviors form young. We see advertisers, influencers, all these people that are really promoting not the best way to live if you're on a budget, right? Average influencers will show their nice nights out. The most popular kids programming on YouTube is unboxing videos where kids will unbox toys. So it's developing this consumerism mentality at a young age. It's not only influencing the kid, but also their peers. Brown University has an interesting study of over 50,000 youth and indicated their financial habits and work ethic habits are forming by age 9. And this is heavily influenced again by advertisers, very sophisticated messaging. So I think parental involvement in shaping that is critical because kids have this influence. Then thinking back to a time when I was at a store and this mom was had a kid in the cart and probably about a 4-year-old young daughter that wanted this fairy princess thing filled with candy. And the mom was like, no, no, no. And she starts throwing fit, louder. And the mom gave in and she was embarrassed. I'm not, it's a tough situation. But now all the marketing that happened influenced her behaviors. Now the mom just gave in. So now it's like the Pavlov's dog, so now classic conditioning is in effect. I saw it right there. So without parental involvement, it's tough. But for teachers, I think it's easy to integrate personal finance lessons into the core curriculum. In elementary school, it's about numeracy and literacy. We can start to add dollar signs and use cash and coins. We can start to set goals. We can introduce them to careers. I think that's a huge missed opportunity. With a gentleman, Ellis Croper, out of our Massachusetts Financial Educators Council, just did a documentary type series where all these kids took a career planning class in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And, these people, one girl said, it gave me courage to decide on what I want to do. She wanted to be a doctor. She started talking with her sister and her sister wanted to be a travel nurse and started talking with her mom, started a little YouTube channel about becoming a doctor and what she's going through. So it's amazing. And when you really think about school, like I went through all of my, elementary and high school with no career planning at all. So I think that's a fun thing to do. So super fun because kids, you're going to hear about crazy. I remember when I was younger, I want to be a stuntman, right? Now, me not liking heights too much, and I don't want to be on fire. Might take me, but let me explore that. What's the income opportunities? What are the risks? We can start to explore things. So I think, again, with youth, we can incorporate, money topics and career exploration into the literacy piece and English and other classes, the dollar and cents into mathematic classes. And I think it's a fun time, right? And, just introducing those basic concepts. But the key, I think, with teachers, getting parental involvement. I love getting parents to do a chore system where kids are starting to work and develop a strong work ethic to earn money. So they're buying their own stuff and saving their own money and contributing to household bills. I think a role of a teacher at that age, bring it into the classroom, find ways. Again, it's tough because elementary has set curriculum and really so you find those ways you can bring it into the class, but get the parents involved.
Absolutely good. That's great. I know when I was in school, in elementary and even in middle school, I'll be honest with you, there was no talk of financial literacy at all.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of it. So I don't know. I don't know if it was the same with you or not, but, all through school. But,
Nothing's changed, Steve. And I actually did a comparison of my report card. I saved myself 1991 graduate with a student that graduated in 2023. Exactly the same. He had a couple more advanced math classes. He was a little smarter than I was in school. And he had one different class, which was a space exploration class, but everything else, I went line by line item through exact same subjects. And we have computers now. We have AI, flying cars. So in financial literacy was an elective course for him, which was in consumer math. I had consumer math, but it was mainly doing the mathematic calculations on taxes and so forth. So it wasn't really that, how do I become financially secure, self-sufficient, and a contributing member of society. It's how do I do math when it comes to calculating basic taxes and purchases and things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask you, Vince, how can gamification be utilized to make financial literacy lessons more engaging?
Yeah, I think there's a path for that. And, that and personally, it's not in my mix too much. I like the concept that there's two things I like about it. It engages the class, but I do find that through project-based learning and the case method that I'm able to get the class engaged and so forth. So they're working together. The challenge I find with gamification is sometimes it's some of it's focused on lower order thinking skill sets, and in addition, sometimes people are just trying to get through to win something, right? And everybody's financial experience is so different. Everybody has different goals, challenges, and dreams, and different situations they grew up in. So I personally don't use it too much. I've seen some people that have some great gamification lessons that they include, but I think the biggest challenge in personal finance is the lack of time. So I'm always trying to squeeze every bit of time into those higher order thinking skill sets. So how quickly can I get them to that creation, that deeper analysis, that those types of things. But again, that's my own style. I think people can include gamification in very relevant ways. I like it with younger kids too, like moving budgets, moving them around the room, and so getting kids moving is always a good thing. But again, with the restriction of time, I don't include it too much. But those that like those aspects, hey, more power to you.
Well, Vince, can you speak to the benefits of incorporating financial literacy in the in the actual school curriculum?
Yeah, yeah. When we look at what we want for our kids, the future generation, a lot of it comes down to things that are directly related to money. When we look at core human needs, physiological needs, emotional needs, relationship needs, safety and security needs, those are the foundation of, and it's directly related to money. Some people may say, oh, the emotional needs aren't. Well, the people that are suffering and struggling financially, with 70+% of people every year that report money is the leading stress in their lives, that plays a big deal in their emotions, and it beats them up. I've had friends commit suicide for money issues. And one guy, a great guy, just the most masculine, macho guy who never smokes cigars and has whiskey, and you would never think, and he never showed, and he did. So I've seen it from that perspective. I've talked with people on the phone crying, just people that you wouldn't think that you had. So it does. And for relationships, try dating with no money. Try doing any activity with no money. You lose friendships sometimes. I remember when I was going through my broke years, my friends would go to concerts, I couldn't go, right? Or I would miss out on opportunities. I'd make up, say, I'm busy, I've got something else going. I wouldn't tell them it was a money thing, but the fact of the matter is you miss out on a lot of things, and I think it's doing a huge disservice when money is the root of really everything in society. I think spirituality, the things can take have a more important place, but anything we want to do, if we want to go to the park, there's parking fees, gas fees. It's hard to enjoy life, and just meet basic security needs. So I think the entire goal of school should change to how do we graduate self-sufficient contributing members of society and give them the skills that are most relevant today. And there's no reason that 2/3 of the country should be struggling financially. And it's just that when you talk to them personally, I'm sure you have friends and other people that that you have these conversations like, man, if they would have just avoided this issue. I talked to people who got into debt at a young age, 20 years later, they're still struggling and worried. So I think it would do a huge benefit to individuals. I think it'd do a huge benefit to the country as well. And getting back to our roots of entrepreneurship, and part of financial literacy, I think, is income planning, which is either career or entrepreneurship. I think incorporating that will give this country a competitive advantage once again. And I just wanted to see people, just not have to worry about money the majority of their life, and maybe hopefully eke out a few decent years where they're not worried about it. And that's the reality today.
Yeah. What are the challenges, Vince, faced in implementing financial literacy programs in diverse educational settings?
Yeah, it's the it is challenging. I think with adults, it's very challenging because every adult has different baggage, different situations. With youth, it's a little less high school, simply because we know there are near-term life events that are coming up. We know they're all going to experience. Hey, how do I pay my bills? How do I set up my account? So we know kind of the things that are coming up, which makes backwards designing the program very easy, right? With adults, everybody's in different situations, different goals. Somebody might be 100 grand in debt, another person 20 grand, so you get, with the socioeconomic side specifically, now most schools, there's socioeconomic, most people are similar, but I find when I started in financial education, I was in Orange County. On one side of Warner Avenue was Santa Ana, very poor, low socioeconomic school district, metal detectors, they shared books. On the other side was, Edison and Orange County, a lot of money. They spend millions and millions on track and field repairs and stuff a year. And what I found was interesting. In any day I'd be in Orange County, Long Beach, LA, Santa Ana, just that was my territory when I started. I started volunteering. That's how I got my start in the industry. And what I found was the kids on the lower socioeconomic side, I found many things, but this is one of the most poignant. They knew a lot about budgeting. They knew a lot about delayed gratification. Where they did not have a lot was their hope. They had very little hope for the future. On the other side, in the more wealthy areas, I saw people that had little to no budgeting skills, little to no delayed gratification. Mommy or daddy's going to buy it for me, but they had a ton of hope for the future. They didn't know anything about money, right? So, when you're working with like a diverse population socioeconomically, I think, with the lower socioeconomic, you need to put a lot more focus on the hope for the future and their ability to overcome challenges that they see. That they see, oh, nobody in my family's ever had money, I won't either. And one of my favorite to do that was the compounding interest activity, where you show them what just saving $100 a month could do over time. And I could explain that to somebody in the more wealthy areas in 2 minutes. They're like, oh, that's great, I get it. And they'd pass the post test, fine on that. In the lower socio, I would have to spend, 20, 30, 40 minutes on that, where they would go through the calculations themselves and be more hands-on. Okay, plug in those numbers. Let's talk about it. What do you find? What did you find? So I have to spend a lot more time there. Then they're like, no way, this is possible. So, just giving somebody hope for the future, I think, is a key thing that motivates them to do anything. If they don't have hope, it's, why am I going to get a job? Why am I going to learn about money? I'm just going to be like, people I see around me. So I think that's the biggest challenge. And if you have a diverse class socioeconomically, I would say invest a lot of time into that hope side to get them all on that same motivation level.
Okay, very good. Vince, how can educators tailor financial literacy instruction to meet the needs of different learning styles?
Yeah, I think with so many different learning styles, and I think going back to what I said at the beginning about hey, giving them some reason building activities, giving them some exploratory and reflective things. You can include videos if you want to break it up even more. Instead of just you lecturing, include some videos. I always also like to include some personal reasons for you being there, so they're building a relationship with you. I think follow-up education is always key with personal finance as well. We have a great opportunity. Today we have ways we can continue the education very easily with emails. Some teachers may have some restrictions on these communications, so you have to follow your guidelines at your school. But working with the school principal to send out follow-up emails even after they graduate. Financial education doesn't end. We know at different life stages they're going to have different challenges and things come up. So if we know they're going to college, maybe we can, and we only have 10 hours in our classroom to do education, you're providing them some ongoing or online education they can do outside the classroom. So I think extending the learning outside is one way they can diversify that. The methodology that I talked about before can diversify it within the classroom. Additionally, I'm a big believer in getting parents involved too, even at that age. So, having at high school, getting the parents involved, having some workshops for the parents and youth, though we get especially good turnouts when it's focused on college planning. So that's a great opportunity for those college bound students. That's a great opportunity to engage them. And a lot of parents are pulling huge amounts of money out of their retirement plan to pay for little Johnny's college. It's going to go, party and drink beer with his parents' money. But, so getting them involved in some type of thing, just trying to think outside of the normal inside the classroom, how we diversify to extend that learning to really benefit them and develop a system of support as well. One last point there, I think, having them find partners in the classroom where they're setting goals together and holding each other accountable is another way they can diversify who they're hearing it from and the lessons they're receiving.
All right, great. I just thought of something here, and mm, why do you think, Vince, that financial literacy hasn't been a priority in public schools? I mean, what's your sense of things here?
Yeah, it's I have the hopefully it's this. They just are slow to change when we look at the subject they've been teaching in schools. It's been over the last 100 years. No real change in the actual subject matter. Now, they used to have religion classes, and foreign language used to be Latin, right? But there's been really no changes. I think one big reason that's holding them back is that the college requirements have been the same, right? We can look back to the 1900s, 1913, when the 300 top colleges came together and say, hey, here's the requirements. That hasn't changed. So all these high schools are teaching to meet these requirements. Now, the other aspect of this, and I hope it's not true, but when I started in this industry in 2006, I'm like, it makes so much sense. They're going to implement financial literacy in high school. We have a strong case for it. They're including topics, that very few people utilize. And that's, if we look at the history, it's the Prussian model that the industrialists brought over to train workers, right? And now, do we really want self-sufficient, independent people capable of making their own financial decisions, or do we want people tied to the needs of the government and their will? Right? And then I don't want to put on tinfoil hat, but I just don't know any other thing. I mean, we've talked about it with so many people. I'm like, why is this not the case? And it's the big. I would say argue that it's the biggest problem this country faces is people in financial challenges, and the impact expands all through their life, leading cause of divorce, leading cause of stress, leading cause of emotional insecurity, and just the struggle. The struggle is real. And there's a solution. If we had a cure for cancer, it'd be front page of the news and so forth. I'm not, saying, hey, financial literacy is the cure, but I'll tell you what, if people aren't making the simple dumb mistakes, I'm saying it because I made them. When you get out of high school and you can start to save and invest early, it will have a major impact on people's lives. So I'm hoping we can, awaken some people out there and just get them on board with really looking out for the best interests of our youth.
Absolutely. Vince, I have to ask you, what is your biggest takeaway that you'd love to share with our audience? I know there's probably many things, but one thing.
We need to make time for financial literacy. I encourage people to be advocates for that. Talk to your principal. It's about finding those people within the schools that share your passion, and that say, hey, we're not going to wait for legislation to come down, because the legislation they're passing is very weak. I've reviewed Ohio standards. They list 70 topics to cover in 50 hours. Just no teacher training on the subject. Massachusetts is training people on how to teach online stock trading to kids, where the teacher doesn't have any training. It seems a little dangerous. And it, so these standards are coming down, lack the funding. They have no investment to teacher education. They say use free materials you find online rather than investing in books like any other subject would. So, we want financial education held to at least the minimum standard, just the minimum of other topics, clear outcomes, testing and requirements, a standalone class. Most aren't standalone classes. And again, half the states don't offer any financial education. So I think it's really still a grassroots movement. Teachers are a critical piece of that because they're within that system. They know how to navigate and finding those people that are share that same passion, so we can eke in there and then start to expand it when they see the results and the feedback from you. So I would say from a key takeaway, we need to find more time, and it's really a grassroots thing. So any help in doing so is always appreciated by me, but also the movement as well.
Okay, great. Vince, how can folks connect with you?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with you personally on LinkedIn. My profile's Vince Shorb. I also have the YouTube channel that reviews all state standards, teaching methodologies, and so forth. That's under the National Financial Educators Council, and our website is financialeducatorscouncil.org. And anybody that has a passion for teaching, that wants to bring financial wellness to their community, we're here to help.
All right, outstanding. Thank you. Vince, I just want to, again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the show and talk. I know you put out there a ton of golden nuggets, so again, it's appreciated. And I'd love to have you back at some point in the future, because I'm sure this is a topic that, we could talk, forever on, so,
Yeah.
but at anyway, I just want to thank you so much, and you have an awesome rest of the day, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds like a plan,
Okay.
Steve. Thanks for having me.
Okay, take care. Well, my friend, we have come to the end of today's episode. But before we go, let me ask you a question. Are you ready to reclaim control of your classroom and witness the incredible impact on your students? Then learn more about how the Teacher RockStar Academy course can be of help. Simply go to teacherclassroomresources.com/TRA. I'll put the link in the description so that you can learn more about this program. I want to thank you for listening to the Teacher RockStar podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hiles. We'll see you same time, same place next week. And remember, my friend, you got this.
You've been listening to the Teacher RockStar podcast with your host, Steve Hiles. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast as much as we have. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our ever-growing community of Teacher RockStars. Until then, thanks for listening.